Hi, everyone. All right, so I have a question for you. When was the last time you fluffed your aura? Just shout it out. Good this morning. Okay, excellent. All right, so if you're like me, most of you might be kind of curious about that, which is what I was when a leader on my team shared with me that before she kicked off her team meetings, they fluffed their auras. And I was so inspired by that it's the inspiration behind today's talk. So aura, right, is one of those weird words where you kind of know what it is, and I always associate it with some sort of color, right? So I love this definition, which is auras are really just that kind of intangible quality that surrounds a person or a thing or a place. Could be a culture, could be a team. And you know that because you have that sort of, oh, that team has a vibe, right? That person has an energy. And really, I like to just think of auras as energy, okay? So when you fluff your aura, you're actually just increasing your energy. And I can continue to tell you about it, but I think the best way to learn is to do it. So I'm going to invite all of you to stand up. Yeah, they're like, are we doing this? We're doing it. Okay? Now, you'll be able to answer that question the last time you fluffed your aura. Oh, today, okay? Now, how it's been taught to me is it's best to cup your hands like you're going to cup some water, right? Okay, now your aura is all around you. Now, you can do it from your toes, but because I don't want you to topple over, we're going to fluff from our belly button, okay? And it's going to look something like this, okay? So you're going to fluff all the way. You can kind of push it if you want. And I like to fluff, fluffing is really kind of personal, but we're going to shoot for about 3 to 4 times, okay? All right. Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, stay standing. Now, you know how you feel? I see a lot of energy, right? Increased energy. Now we're going to transfer some of that energy. In the next 5 seconds, I want you to give as many fist bumps. If you don't know what a fist bump is, kind of, bumping your knuckles, as many fist bumps as you can to the people next to you, okay? Ready? Go. Okay, stop. Stop. Excellent job. You guys can all have a seat, okay? Awesome. You followed instructions really well. I love it. All right. So now, by a show of hands, how many of you smiled or giggled during that? Yeah, awesome. How many of you felt maybe a little boost of energy? Yep. Okay, great. And it's sort of surprising, right? Now, I forced you, but you had some connection. There was laughter, there was energy. And imagine if you could feel that way every day. That would be tremendous. Or what if your teams could feel that way every day? I have been at Target for 16 years, and I like to say that I've drank the Target Kool-Aid, which, by the way, tastes delicious, okay? Now, I have been in a lot of different roles at Target. My academic background is I have a math degree. I'm very analytic, right? I love insights and data, and I have led teams that are operational, also strategic, but I've been a technologist, I've been a researcher, I've been in marketing, I've been in digital, I've been all over, and I'm very left-brained, okay? And I even apply this in my personal life. I actually organize my closet by color. I attempted to organize my 2 children's closets by color. That lasted for about 2 days, right? So I have never really allowed myself to be in this right-brained world, and it wasn't until a mentor of mine said, you know what, Jen? The aura, the type of environment you actually might thrive in, is something that's more creative. So a year ago, I had an opportunity to become the director of our creative project manager team. Now, to most people, that might not be their definition of a dream job, but it actually was for me. I loved it. I loved being in the world of creative, right? I came from very structured, very process-driven roles, and all of a sudden I'm with these creatives who literally are wearing marching band uniforms to work. Like, I love that. And I also saw that I myself had to lead teams a little bit differently. So I took everything from my 16 years of experience, and I said, I can do this, right? I usually focus on the 4 Ps when I take over a new team. And not the 4 marketing Ps, but the 4 Gen Ps, okay? So first, it's just the pipeline. What are we working on, right? That's easy. What's the work? Second, the people. Okay, I'm going to need this type of people and this type of talent, this type of people and that type of talent. Great. What's the type of skill set that I need to get the work done? And then processes. OK, so we're going to need some structure for those people to do some sort of work, and then we're going to measure our performance. All right, easy. Except what I learned is that in a creative organization, I had to really change my way of thinking. Okay, so instead of it being a pipeline, which is very planned work, and I work in an internal creative agency, so some of our work is planned, but the reality is a shit ton of it is not planned. We have internal business partners that are also changing their mind quite frequently, and we get requests every week. And so we have to think more with flexibility. How are we actually enabling flexibility so that we can react to the new requests that we have? We also, we think a lot about skills and functions and what's your title. And I could have a team of horses, right, that do horse things. And I could have a team of airplanes that do airplane things. But I actually think it's more compelling to think about growing teams and people that are flying unicorns. Okay? Because flying unicorns, if I said, hey, I kind of have a project where I really need a horse, yep, they can do that. Actually, I have a project now that I need an airplane. Oh, sure, that flying unicorn can do that. So we're going to talk more about this. But I love the idea of developing flying unicorns. And then finally, from a performance standpoint, it's really more about getting to the fundamentals. Creative operations is a fairly new discipline. And marketing has come a long ways in terms of data and measurements and insights. In a creative world, that's harder. So my focus right now is just kind of getting to the fundamentals. You can't measure it unless you actually have the data. Now, on good days in Target Creative, we kind of operate like this. We have a vision of where we're going, right? The bus is moving. That's a good sign. We actually have someone driving the bus. We have people who are committed, who are already on the bus. And then we have people who at least are running. That's good. They have energy. And they're all heading in the same direction, OK? So that's a pretty good day right there. Now, bad day, OK? Bad day is nobody is driving. We're actually feeling a little stuck. We don't have anyone in the driver's seat. We have not only people in opposing, motion. They want to go in different ways. We actually have physical ankle biters that are kind of dragging us down. We have lots of emotions, and that emotion can translate to differences in behaviors and personalities, and this is a bad day for us. Now, I lead a team that's comprised of 25+ creative project managers that are managing over 250 projects at any given time across 400 internal creative team members to churn out 40,000 pieces of marketing content. Okay, that's a lot. Now, I would love it if we could just become a widget factory, right? The left side of my brain would say, that's amazing. We could just do this. But that's actually not beneficial to a creative organization. And for a retailer like Target, we support so many different types of businesses, from baby to food to style to big holiday moments to big cultural moments like Pride. And I have a diverse set of creatives that are trying to get a diverse set of work done. We also work in a diverse set of channels. So this is our Cloud Island launch that we did earlier this year. So whether it's in-store or it's online, or it's across digital banners, social like Facebook, Pinterest. We do a lot of Pinterest. And cute babies on Pinterest, I mean, you just can't go wrong. Or direct mail. We actually need a way of operating that looks very differently. And when I think about the way that we operate and who we're operating with, it's really our creatives. So when I think about the aura of the world that we want to live in, it really looks more like this, right? It's kind of magic and rainbows. And if we could show up and feel energized like this to get all of that body of work done across so many different channels, that to me is sort of my wish list and my vision. So this is actually a picture of some of the folks on my team. Research shows that a high-performing team is a happy and healthy team, right? We have energy. We're excited to come to work. But how many of us actually know, one, what excites you, right? What's motivating to you? And I have found sometimes that people, when you ask them, they're like, I don't know. And you would think that we spend 24/7 with ourselves, right? Who knows what motivates you better than you? But when I say, tell me, top 5 things that motivate you, it's like, okay, okay? So we actually created a form, which this seems very kind of official, but it was a thought starter to say, let's talk about what motivates you. And some of that could be internally driven, right? I just want to work on really cool, sexy work. Some of it could be externally driven. It could be, I actually am kind of motivated by really fancy titles, and maybe, of course, all of us want to get paid. But I also ask each person on my team, what are your aspirations? What are your hopes and dreams, right? What type of flying unicorn do you someday want to become? We also have found that appreciation goes a long way, and we know this. Even as humans ourselves, it's nice to feel appreciated, right? It's nice. And we have, big award moments within Target Creative. We also have some monetary incentives. Okay, that's great. And as leaders, we kind of pat ourselves on the back going, yeah, we've done it, right? Checkbox. We're appreciating people. And what we found is that there are people who are attached to really big bodies of work, right? Have big outcomes. I'm going to pick on holiday for a second, right? Holiday for a retailer is that's a massive moment. We need to do really well. And the creatives that are working on that work usually kind of get the spotlight. But then we have smaller efforts, right? And how are we recognizing not just the outcome, but the effort? And the best example I have are my 2 kids, okay? Those are my 2 daughters up there. And one day, my oldest decided she wanted to teach the youngest, who was 2, just turned 2, to paint. Okay, and I'm like, of course, this is wonderful. So we set up the little paper and the paintbrushes, and like any good mom, I decided to go multitask, right? So I'm like, you seem fine, this all is under control. I'm gonna just do the dishes for like 2 minutes, okay? And what I came back to find is that my oldest was teaching the youngest how to paint by painting the arms and all of the legs, okay? And look at her. She is so excited. I had to capture it because she was so proud of herself. Look, Mom, what I did. Now, the outcome is not at all what I wanted, right? But the effort behind it is exactly what I wanted. I wanted her, she was kind. She was taking time to teach. She was actually, being with her sister. And so we had a conversation later about what is actually appropriate to paint on and what's not appropriate to paint on. But we spent a lot of time in Target Creative thinking about how do we recognize the everyday. Now, it can be as simple as handwritten notes. What we heard from our team is that sometimes, I'm going to actually ask you a question. Okay, how many of you have ever thought something like, gosh, that person, she does really great work. Or he handled that question from a client really well. I'm really impressed, okay? How many of you just had a passing thought about somebody that was kind of positive? Yeah, okay. How many of you, 100% of the time, tell that person that you had that thought? Okay, right. It doesn't often happen that way, okay? Because we're busy. And plus, to be honest, I have a lot of thoughts in my head, and if I shared every single one all the time, that would become a little awkward. And so our encouragement is, how do you share that as much as you can, right? That's still genuine and authentic and nice, but also timely. Hey, Jen, we just got out of that meeting, and someone asked you a really difficult question, like, you did an amazing job. Kudos to you. Right? And so it can be a simple handwritten note. I am very busy. I lead a team now of 50 people, and I don't always get the time to see them, to tell them this information. So every Friday, I collect any thoughts I have, any emails, and I send out an email to my team. I should caveat, I try every Friday, right? And my team knows this, that I try. And I just give a shout out. And it could be as simple as, hey, Katie, thanks for finding that file on a server, right? You really helped somebody. Or if I get a thank you note from a partner, I save that and I say, okay. The other thing I do is whenever you get thank you notes or like appreciation notes from other people, I always write them back and say, thank you for saying thank you, right? So I'm trying to reward the behavior that I want to see. This is my team. We did a really quick exercise. Quick by like an hour-ish. We just needed some construction paper. And what we did is we created these big construction paper buckets. And there's a and I'm not going to remember the author's name now, but the guy who wrote the Buckets of Gratitude. Okay, I'll follow up later. The idea is that if you appreciate someone, right, and you fill their bucket with appreciation, you actually fill your own bucket. Okay? And you do, think about that, right? If you kind of tell someone, my high five example is usually what I use. It's impossible to give someone a high five and not make them feel good and not make yourself feel good. Just try it. I do it on my kids all the time. Oh, you're having a meltdown? Hey, high five, right? It works. It's a magical tool, I promise you. So we, for every single team in Target Creative, we created a bucket. And we wrote handwritten notes, and we just said, you're awesome, you're amazing, you're super talented, right? Whatever the team came up with. And then we made a really big deal of delivering them. We went to a big team meeting that they were at, and we presented it, right? And we started this culture of, let's have an attitude of gratitude. Like, let's actually recognize everyday moments and the effort. So what we have heard from our team members is that when we make people feel appreciated, this is what happens, right? It energizes me and makes me want to kick ass, which I love. These are actually direct quotes. It's the boost I need to keep going. It makes me feel confident, and it makes me feel proud. How amazing is that if we could have a team, right? The people that you work with feel like this on a daily basis. Feel the aura of sort of inspiration and confidence. The other thing we do in Target Creative is each week we get, 10 to 20 requests for new work, right? So we always have 250 projects kind of in the hopper, and then we just get, oh, hey, by the way, I have 20 other things that maybe would be fun for you to do. And we have a casting process. So every Tuesday at 9 a.m. we cast. And what we do is we don't cast by title, right? We don't say, okay, we need a horse on this project. We cast by talent. So it might be, hey, we kind of have a flying unicorn. Let's give that flying unicorn a chance to become an airplane or a horse, right? Let's try them out. Maybe they're kind of just a growing flying unicorn. Like maybe their wings are just a little tiny. And we want to see how much further they could fly. So we cast, and we always make sure we have the right talent for the right work. The other thing that broader marketing launched about a year ago is a program that we call Jumpseat. And it's just like it sounds. If you have, again, going back to your aspiration, right? If you have an aspiration, pick your dream aspiration, but you're like, but would I really like it? Like I have an aspiration, I think I'd be a good photographer, but would I really? I'm not sure. So Jumpseat gives you the opportunity to jump into someone else's role. And you can do that as simple as, I'm just going to shadow you for a little bit, right, and just kind of see. It could be, hey, I'm actually going to take the camera from you and maybe do a few shots. Or it could be like, hey, I'm going to just have this whole project myself. So it runs the gamut. But the best example I have is I had a very tenured creative project manager on my team. And the very first interaction we had, which is over a year ago, of course I asked, right, like what's your motivations? What's like your big aspiration? What's your dream job? And he looks at me like, okay. And he's like, well, I kind of always have wanted to be an art director. And I'm like, that's great. Now, for anyone who has a dream job, what do? We put big barriers of why we couldn't possibly, right? I have a deep, deep belief that I was meant to be a professional ballerina. I have never taken a ballet class in my life, okay? So I tell people I really believe that I was meant to be a professional ballerina, but I can't. I haven't taken a ballet class, blah, blah, blah. So we put things in our place, real or perceived. And of course, he was doing the same thing. He said, but I couldn't possibly be an art director because of this and that and this. So when Jumpseat came along, I said, you know what? You should do a Jumpseat. Try it out for a day, right? And what we ended up constructing was actually, he didn't just try it out for a day, he actually took over an entire body of work as an art director. And he art directed some of the Halloween product that we just launched. And he did an amazing job. He did such an amazing job that when a position came open as an art director on that team, guess who that team wanted? Him. So not only did he become what he wanted to be, right, his dream job, but we in Target Creative just created a flippin' flying unicorn, right? So now we have this project manager who became an art director, and now he can essentially flex on both. He brings both kind of disciplines to the table, which is amazing. So my question to you is, as you go back, right, to your teams and to your work, how can you also embody some of these traits? Now, are these things easy to do? Yeah, right? It's easy to send a thank you card. It's easy to ask people what motivates them. Is it easy to find the time? No, right? And it's super easy to put it at the bottom of your to-do list. I do it all the time as a busy leader. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I know I should. And it kind of falls to the wayside. So you need to find ways to build it into part of your routine. My husband has an annoying thing that he says whenever I say, oh, gosh, I wish I would have done that, but I can't now. Same with the ballet thing. He says, well, the best time to have started is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And then I give them a look like, yep, I know, right? So if you haven't done it to this point, right, yeah, you probably should have been doing it the past few years, but the best next time to start is today. And the question I will leave you with is, when you go back to your teams and to your work, how do you make sure that you and those around you feel like their auras have been fluffed, right? And that they have the potential to become flying unicorns? Thank you.